Where to begin? Kikuhiko is showing himself to be an incredibly complicated character, really. I mean, he always has been, But the more I watch him, the more human, the more real he feels. And it really is impressive how the show is pulling his character off. But what really impresses me is that it's not afraid to make him unpleasant. Like, for the past few episodes, he hasn't really struck me as such, but in this week, episode 7, or rather last week's episode at this point, but for the first time, I saw the bitter, sardonic old man in him that we know from episode 1, and it was strange. Like, it doesn't really make me like him any less. In fact, I have an incredible level of sympathy for him, but he is clearly a deeply flawed human being. As is Sugeruku, as is Miyokichi. Just like the characters in this show, they read more like characters from like a serious novel than they do like characters from an anime, and I'm kind of in love with that. Insofar as plot goes, this most significant development this episode would be that their master has asked Kikuhiko to accompany him on a performance tour. And so, from this alone, we can see how much Kikuhiko has progressed for him to be the one that is chosen over Sugeruku. Although I would reckon a lot of this is due in part to the fact that Kikuhiko is really the only one of the two who lives up to his master's rules and instructions and expectations. In terms of talent alone, they're probably about equal at this point, and both of them are very successful, very popular, especially for just students. But this development does sort of begin to change the group dynamic. Sugeruku is as irresponsible as ever, and Kikuhiko needs to cover for him. He's talented enough now to fill in for him when he misses a performance, which is just like another show to how much he has progressed as a character, because in the past he was nothing close to Sugeruku. And we also get some great romance this episode, I'm not gonna lie, which is absolutely delightful. And we see how much his behavior really grates on Kikuhiko, especially now that he will be going away, leaving him alone. But so yeah, like on one hand, he's just bitter, he has to watch out for this guy. Always keeping tabs on him no matter what he says, stop drinking, stop searching for women. But really, the thought of his friend needing to try and scrape by on his own really worries him, and rightfully so. So he's pretty harsh on him this week, to the point of being a little bit unpleasant. But we still see those moments of affection, the little smiles, letting him sleep on his lap. So, I don't know, I guess you could say that both their affection for each other and eternal argumentativeness both grew in this episode. The real issue here would be Miyokichi. She continues to pine for Kikuhiko, but who now that he's found more love and success in Rakugo, is colder toward her than he ever was before. Like, she begs him to come and visit her, no, but he can't. He needs to focus on his Rakugo. And now he needs to go on the tour as well, which I don't think he tells her about. She probably should do, but, long story short, she doesn't have much of a place in all of this to him, it doesn't seem. And then, to add insult to injury, he continues to find time for Sugeruku to show him the affection that she wants from him. Like, she walks in on Sugeruku sleeping in Kikuhiko's lap, and immediately throws him off and takes his place. Like, how can you steal him from me? Now, there's really no romance here between the two guys that I personally see, but she sees how incredibly close they are. What she wants, what she can't have, and she can't bear it. Just like these two guys are everything to each other. They've been together their entire life, and they're completely and utterly inseparable no matter how much Kikuhiko may complain about his friend, his brother really, but she is not that. She wants to work her way into his life, into his family, into this small circle of people that he really does love, and she doesn't seem to be able to. And now that he's more set on his Rakugo than ever, he sort of just like lets her fall to the side. She like begs him to visit, and he just walks away, and just like leaving her standing there alone in the street. Maybe sometime I'll see you. And she's like the tears begin to run her face, and he just walks away. I'll admit that this coldness disorder is not a nice quality at all. So like I said, it's one of the things that I really noticed for the first time in this episode. A very unpleasant side of this guy. I have, for the most part, seen two different responses to this. We've got dislike of Miyokichi and dislike of Kikuhiko. How Miyokichi should be forcing herself, how she's coming in between the guys, or how Kikuhiko is being cruel here. How can he leave her crying? How can he just pick her work over her? How selfish that is. And I wouldn't say that either of these assessments is wrong. It's more that both are kind of correct, and that picking only one sort of does a disservice to the other half of the conflict. Like, Kikuhiko is undeniably very cold in this episode. It's not, like I said, it's unpleasant. But let's just look at a moment for Miyokichi's behavior and the nature of their relationship up to this point. He has never really shown much of an interest in her that I have seen personally. Like, she always seems to just be like forcing herself on him. He may not really object, and he might even be fine with it, but there's definitely a degree of physical uncomfort there. And like, it seems that he's only consenting by not protesting, and that's not really a very healthy foundation for a relationship. And I don't know, I don't really think he owes her anything other than just being decent, which he's not. But he really certainly doesn't owe her the amount of time and love that he devotes to his best friend and to Rakugo, given how new she is to his life and how sort of uncomfortable she seems, or at least her affections seem to make him. And then you see in that scene where Miyokichi and Sukeruku are arguing with each other, he just like smiles and looks on at them. Like, I don't think he hates her at all. Like, he's probably willing to have her in his life, and maybe even take some degree of happiness in just like seeing his two friends interact with each other. But number one, she's kind of an obstacle to his Rakugo, just like as a matter of time. He does have many things to attend to, and her presence does seem to make him a little bit uncomfortable, especially because of what her presence means to him right now. A situation where he is expected to return her romantic advances, where she may at any moment pressure him into doing something that makes him sort of uncomfortable, and like he doesn't know how to deal with this. And so he just pushes her to the side, he just spurns her. He can't bring himself to reject her outright, which would of course be the better option, just to cut it off entirely before the situation gets worse. But I don't know, his fear in that regard is understandable. Certainly to anybody who has ever been on the receiving end of just like an unrequited love sort of thing. It's not a pleasant position at all. And so unless Kikuhiko, stop being such a jerk. But then you realize it really does take a lot of guts just to cut it off the healthier way. And so I can't really hate him for it, even though I know that it is pretty selfish and cowardly and cold to deal with it as he is. But at the end of the day, it's really just an upsetting situation. Like, we need to remember that Miyokichi was brought here literally just to give Kikuhiko a relationship. Her master's just like, go after him, go after my student. And just like, and she was unfortunate enough to actually fall completely over heels in love with this guy. This guy who won't and possibly can't even love her the way she wants. I would of course say that the best option for her at this point would probably be just to let him go and to find some other form of happiness in life. But of course that's a lot easier said than done, because she really does love this guy. You can see it in her eyes when she looks at him. And then you can see in Kikuhiko's eyes how bad he feels about turning her away. He looks incredibly sad, honestly, and he probably wishes that it could work. because he doesn't want to hurt her. But the fact that it's not going to work out for them, at least he doesn't think so, remains. And it's just like the situation is rapidly becoming more and more and more of a mess. And it's like immediately after, Kikuhiko finds happiness and fulfillment in Rakugo. Just like, and things are going to keep heading for the worst, probably. And so I really do wonder how upsetting it is going to be for me when Sukeruku finally dies. Because I really like all three of these guys, and I don't want to see their lives shatter and break apart and everything be ruined like I know it will. Rakugo, please be kind to me. Don't do this. Don't do this. But regardless, thank you all for watching. I'll see you soon.